There comes a moment in every man's life where he finally gets tired of carrying conversations, initiating moments, and giving energy to someone who keeps showing up with half interest. It's subtle at first. A slower reply, a colder tone, a shift in priorities, and somehow you're the only one still trying to hold the connection together. But there is a truth men almost never hear. The moment you stop reaching out is the moment the real story begins. Most men assume walking away makes them lose a woman's attention. In reality, it exposes the truth of the connection, because women don't react to your words, they react to your energy. And when you finally sit back, detach from the emotional noise, and stop feeding her constant validation, suddenly she feels something she didn't expect. Contrast. The space between your last message and your silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, she sees what she's been taking for granted. Silence isn't empty. Silence is information. It tells her, you're no longer the man waiting for her crumbs. Your attention has value. Your availability is not unlimited. Your emotional world does not revolve around her. And this is where the psychology gets real. The modern dating world has trained women to believe they will always have a man ready to respond, ready to try, ready to chase. But when that pattern breaks, when you break it, her nervous system reacts instantly. Suddenly, she's not in control of the dynamic anymore. She can't predict your next move. She can't sense your emotional temperature. And uncertainty is a far more powerful trigger than affection. Here is the part she'll never admit. When you stop reaching out, she doesn't feel relieved. She feels evaluated. She wonders whether you got bored, whether you found someone else, whether you finally saw through the illusion of her indifference. How women are emotional analysts by instinct. When they lose access to your attention, their mind fills the silence with questions. Even the most confident, independent woman can feel that internal pull, because the truth is simple. Humans desire what is slipping away. Your silence challenges her ego. Your silence interrupts her comfort. Your silence forces her to rethink how she treated you. Your silence makes her confront whether she truly valued you or not. And the irony, she will always claim she doesn't care. She'll act busy. She'll pretend unbothered. She'll scroll, post, distract herself, but her emotional world will betray her. When a man who once cared suddenly stops trying, every woman feels it. Every woman notices. And the ones who truly wanted you? They recalibrate fast. They lean in. They try again. This video is not about manipulation. It's about restoring balance, reclaiming your presence, and understanding what happens psychologically when you stop chasing and let your silence speak for you. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood, a private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits, just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section number 1. The shift she never expected. When a man stops reaching out, the first change that happens isn't in the woman's behavior. It's in her internal atmosphere. She might not say a word. She might not text you. She might not let anything show on the surface, but her emotional world shifts instantly because something she was unconsciously relying on has suddenly disappeared. She got used to your presence without realizing it. She got used to your consistency, your warmth, your effort, and the feeling of being wanted. Even if she acted indifferent, even if she pretended you meant nothing, even if she told herself she didn't care, there was a hidden comfort in knowing you are always one message away. When that comfort vanishes, she doesn't feel relief. She feels an unexpected emptiness, a pause, a disruption in the pattern that made her feel secure without doing anything to earn it. This is where her mind begins to unravel quietly. Women don't typically react outwardly at first. They analyze inwardly because they're wired for emotional pattern recognition. She starts replaying your last conversations, searching for clues, scanning for signs that might explain why your energy suddenly changed. She wonders whether she said something wrong, whether you got disappointed, or whether you finally lost interest. And this is where her ego enters the conversation. She is not just thinking about you. She is thinking about her value in your eyes. Women do not want every man. They want the man whose attention feels meaningful. Your silence makes her question whether she still holds that spot, and that question alone is powerful enough to shift her emotions dramatically. As the hours pass and the silence stretches longer, another layer appears. Comparison. She starts comparing how you used to show up versus how you're showing up now. That drop in your effort creates a psychological contrast that she cannot ignore. Humans are hardwired to notice what changes, not what stays the same, and your withdrawal is the sharpest emotional change she has felt from you. Your silence communicates something that your words could never deliver. That you have stepped back into your own world, into your own direction, into your own masculine center, and this triggers something deep inside her. Curiosity mixed with insecurity, attraction mixed with uncertainty, desire mixed with fear. This internal cocktail is the exact reason silence works. It grounds you, it unsettles her, and it exposes the true dynamic between you. A woman who never cared will stay gone, but a woman who had even a small amount of emotional investment will feel the shift so intensely that she won't be able to ignore it. And the more she tries to pretend she's unaffected, the more her emotions push back against that illusion. She might act cold, she might act distant, she might act busy, but inside she's becoming more alert, more reactive, and more aware of your absence than she ever was of your presence. This is the beginning of her reaction. A reaction she will never admit, a reaction she will never show immediately, but a reaction that silently proves your value. Because the moment your energy leaves, her emotional world wakes up, and that awakening is the spark that transforms everything. Section number 2. The emotional disruption your silence creates. The moment your presence fades, a psychological chain reaction begins inside her, one she cannot fully control, even if she tries to hide it behind confidence, distraction, or ego-driven bravado. What most men fail to understand is that attention creates emotional stability for a woman, even when she insists she doesn't need it. Your messages, your consistency, your energy, all of it formed a predictable rhythm that her mind used as a quiet source of reassurance. She didn't consciously appreciate it, but she relied on it much more than you think. So when you stop reaching out, you don't just remove a conversation, you remove an emotional anchor. This rupture creates an immediate imbalance she feels deeply, precisely, because it forces her to confront a truth she avoided. She was benefiting from your effort without reciprocating it. At first, she tries to rationalize it. She tells herself you're simply busy, that maybe you're distracted, that it's not a big deal. But these rational explanations only hold for a short period, because emotions are stronger than logic, and the emotional signal your silence sends is unmistakable. It tells her that you have stepped into self-respect. It tells her that you're no longer operating from neediness. It tells her that something inside you has evolved. And evolution in a man triggers something powerful in a woman: the fear of being replaced. This fear doesn't always show itself as panic. Sometimes it appears as a subtle restlessness, a curiosity about what you're doing, a sudden desire to check your social media, or a quiet urge to scroll through your old messages to remind herself of how good the connection felt when you were the one creating it. Your silence creates space, but space never stays empty. It amplifies whatever truth was already there. If she was genuinely interested, your absence intensifies her feelings. If she was unsure, your distance forces her to decide. If she was taking you for granted, your silence becomes the wake-up call she didn't expect. Women are emotional creatures, and emotional creatures respond to emotional disruptions. When your effort disappears, she feels the contrast so sharply that even her pride cannot shield her from the realization that something has shifted against her favor. And this emotional disruption doesn't just make her think about you. It makes her think about herself. She starts asking whether she misplayed the situation. She wonders if she pushed too hard with her coldness, if she acted too confident, if she underestimated your value. She mentally reevaluates every moment where she acted dismissive, and those memories begin to sting. The moment a woman begins doubting how she behaved is the moment she starts wanting to fix the dynamic, but her pride complicates everything. She doesn't want to chase, she doesn't want to appear desperate, but she also doesn't want to lose you. This emotional tug-of-war becomes the center of her internal world, all triggered by the simple but powerful act of you stopping your reach. This is why silence is never neutral. Silence is psychological movement. It forces her to feel, to reflect, and to confront her emotional decisions. It shakes the illusion of control she thought she had. And once that illusion breaks, everything she does next becomes a reaction to your absence. Section number 3. The ego response. Her pride fights before her heart speaks. One of the most fascinating psychological patterns emerges right after she feels the disruption your silence created. Her ego rises before her true emotions do. Even when a woman feels the sting of your absence, her first instinct is not to show vulnerability, it is to protect her pride. She has an internal narrative she wants to maintain, a narrative where she appears in control, unaffected, desired, and never the one who cares more. Your silence threatens that narrative, and the ego reacts like a defense mechanism, trying to rebuild the illusion she hides behind. This is why her first visible reaction might seem cold, distant, or nonchalant, even though she is feeling the exact opposite internally. She might post something subtly provocative on social media, not to move on, but to test whether you still watch, whether you still care, whether she still has access to your attention, even though she isn't giving you any. She might act busier, stronger, or more confident, not because she truly feels that way, but because she is trying to calm the discomfort that your silence created. Her ego will whisper excuses to her, encouraging her to pretend she's fine without you, because the ego's job is not to connect, it is to protect. And when your silence exposes her emotional vulnerability, her pride steps in to cover the cracks. But here is the part most men never understand. Her ego-driven reactions are a sign that she felt something. Indifference creates no ego response. When a woman truly doesn't care, she does nothing. No posts, no tests, no emotional fluctuations, no curiosity. But when she feels the imbalance your silence created, her pride tries to fill the gap. The more she tries to appear unaffected, the more it reveals she is affected. The more she tries to maintain distance, the more it reveals she is aware of the distance. Her ego becomes the mask that protects her emotional investment, and that mask often slips the longer you stay silent. Internally, something more complex starts happening. She begins to ask herself why you stopped trying, why you changed your approach, and why you seem so grounded now. She wonders whether you found someone who values your energy more. She wonders whether you realized she wasn't meeting your effort. She wonders whether she misjudged your intentions completely. Each of these thoughts expands the psychological tension within her, and the more tension she feels, the more her behavior becomes unpredictable. This unpredictability is not a sign of stability. It is a sign of emotional awakening, a sign that your silence is working exactly as it should. And this is where many women face their internal conflict, the battle between their pride, which tells them to ignore you, and their heart, which tells them to reach out. The ego wants to maintain superiority, but the heart wants to restore connection. Your silence intensifies this conflict, and the longer it lasts, the more exhausting it becomes for her to pretend she doesn't care. Eventually, ego cannot sustain itself without emotional support, and the mask starts to crack, revealing what she truly feels underneath. This ego reaction is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of her emotional unraveling. And once her heart begins to speak louder than her pride, the dynamic shifts in a way she can no longer control. Section number 4. The quiet curiosity that turns into obsession. As the days pass and your silence stays steady, her emotional landscape begins to shift into a new phase. Curiosity. Not the casual, surface-level curiosity she might feel about someone she barely knows, but the deep, intrusive kind that sneaks into her thoughts when she least expects it. This curiosity is powerful because it doesn't ask polite questions. It demands answers. It breaks through her pride, her distractions, and the facade of confidence she tries to maintain. It forces her to think about you in moments when she wanted to think about anything else. This curiosity grows for a simple psychological reason. Human beings are far more drawn to uncertainty than predictability. You used to be predictable. Your replies came with rhythm. Your effort came with consistency. Your presence came with warmth. And because of that, she never had to wonder. She never had to question. She never had to fear losing you. But now, with your silence, everything she thought she understood about you becomes blurry. The shift from predictable to unpredictable is what creates the emotional pull she cannot ignore. It makes her mind replay conversations, analyze tiny moments, and look for signals that were never meant to be detective clues in the first place. She wonders what you're doing and who you're talking to. She wonders whether you've moved on mentally, emotionally, or even romantically. She wonders if you're choosing your peace over her chaos. And the more she wonders, the stronger the psychological loop becomes. Curiosity is rarely satisfied through logic. It feeds itself through imagination. So her mind begins filling the silence with scenarios, some flattering to her ego, others unsettling to her security. And because she has no new information from you, every possibility feels real. This emotional uncertainty is what begins turning her curiosity into obsession. During this phase, her actions may still appear subtle. She might watch your stories without interacting. She might check your profile more often. She might scroll through old messages to reconnect with the energy you once gave her. She might even ask mutual friends about you, not because she wants to appear interested, but because the urge to know becomes stronger than her desire to look detached. This is the stage where she starts to lose control over her emotional reactions, and the irony is that she will still pretend she is unaffected on the outside, while her internal world becomes more and more chaotic. The key detail here is that silence doesn't make her miss the messages. It makes her miss the version of herself she was when you cared. She misses being desired. She misses being the center of your attention. She misses the certainty you once gave her. And when a woman begins missing the emotional version of herself instead of just missing you, the attachment becomes much deeper. It becomes psychological rather than situational. This curiosity-turned obsession is not a sign of weakness in her, nor manipulation from you. It is the natural emotional consequence of imbalance. The moment you step back, she steps inward, and that inward journey exposes truths she avoided when your energy was constantly present. Silence has now shifted her emotions from comfort to confusion, and from confusion to curiosity. And that curiosity is the spark that eventually pushes her to make a move. Section number 5. The moment she realizes. She misplayed everything. There comes a very specific turning point in the no-contact dynamic, and it always arrives in silence. The moment she realizes she underestimated you. This realization doesn't hit all at once. It arrives in fragments, in quiet reflections, in the subtle recognition that the connection felt different when you were the one showing up. At first, she tries to ignore it, dismissing her discomfort as temporary confusion. But the more she sits with your absence, the more undeniable the truth becomes. She pushed away a man who was actually giving her something real, and now that his energy is gone, she can feel the emotional vacuum with surprising intensity. This realization often begins with a single thought. Maybe he wasn't as attached as I believed. This question is painful for her ego because it challenges the illusion of emotional superiority she tried to maintain. She begins reevaluating the entire dynamic. She remembers moments when you tried, moments when you listened, moments when you cared, and suddenly she sees the imbalance with clarity. She thought your consistency meant dependency. She thought your effort meant weakness. She thought your desire meant availability. But now, your silence reframes everything she believed about you. She starts to understand that your kindness wasn't desperation. It was choice. And the moment she realizes you stopped choosing her, everything about the situation changes for her emotionally. This phase is powerful because it forces her to confront her own behavior without the comfort of your presence. She remembers the times she gave you cold replies and now feels embarrassed by them. She remembers the times she acted uninterested and now feels regret for taking you lightly. She remembers the times she ignored your messages and now wonders whether those moments were the turning points that pushed you away. These memories begin to sting. They create emotional pressure that grows each day your silence continues, and the accumulated weight of these reflections often becomes more intense than the fear of reaching out. Her internal dialogue becomes a battlefield. Part of her wants to justify her past behavior, but another part knows the truth. She didn't treat you like a man who could walk away, and now you're proving you can. This recognition strikes at her emotional core because women respect men who have boundaries, and nothing demonstrates boundaries more clearly than walking away from a one-sided dynamic. Your silence reveals your strength, and once she sees that strength, her perception of you shifts permanently. This is also the point where she stops comparing you to other men and starts comparing herself to the women you could potentially be giving your energy to now. She imagines you talking to someone who appreciates you more, someone who gives you the attention she withheld, someone who sees your value without needing you to disappear first. This thought destabilizes her because it introduces the possibility of losing not just the connection, but the role she had in your life. And losing a role is far more painful than losing a conversation. Her regret deepens because she now sees the truth she avoided. You were the stable one, the consistent one, the grounded one. You brought emotional clarity, and she brought emotional uncertainty. And now that the roles have reversed, she feels exactly what you once felt, except with a much stronger intensity, because her pride prevented her from realizing the depth of her feelings until your silence exposed them. This moment of realization is the foundation of everything that happens next, because once she understands she misplayed the dynamic, her mindset and her strategy shift in ways she never could have imagined at the start. In the end, the entire journey of silence teaches a man one truth that cannot be learned through words, effort, or chasing. When you stop reaching out, you don't lose a woman, you discover her. Silence doesn't create distance. It exposes the emotional distance that was already there. It doesn't push her away. It simply stops pulling her toward you. And in that stillness, her true level of interest begins to surface with undeniable clarity. The entire emotional sequence she goes through, the confusion, the curiosity, the ego responses, the overthinking, the regret, the subtle attempts, and the final reach out, all of it becomes a mirror reflecting how she truly felt beneath her staged indifference. Your silence becomes the filter that separates women who valued your presence from those who only valued your reassurance. It becomes the boundary that protects your energy from being wasted on those who never intended to match it. And most importantly, it becomes the reminder that your worth was never tied to her replies, her validation, or her temporary attention. It was tied to your ability to choose yourself when someone else stopped choosing you. When you stop reaching out, you reclaim the emotional balance she disrupted. You return to your center, your direction, your purpose, the place where your power naturally grows. Women are not drawn to men who chase endlessly. They are drawn to men who walk in their purpose, grounded and unbothered, because that energy communicates security stronger than any words. Your silence tells her that you are no longer seeking approval, but offering presence only to those who earn it. It tells her you are not desperate for connection, but selective with your peace. It tells her you are not afraid of loss, because you know you are the prize that brings stability, clarity, and direction into the lives of the people around you. And when she finally reaches out, when her pride collapses and her true emotions surface, she isn't just coming back to you. She is coming back to the version of herself she felt when your energy was in her world. But now, the dynamic is different. You are no longer the one chasing. You are the one choosing. And that is the silent transformation most men never experience because they never step back long enough to see it unfold. Remember this: no contact is not punishment. It is alignment. It aligns you with your self-respect, your discipline, and your emotional independence. And anyone who is meant to be in your life will feel that alignment and move toward you, not away from you. Silence is not the absence of effort. It is the presence of self-worth. And when a man understands this, he no longer fears walking away. He understands that distance is the doorway through which truth enters. In a world where everyone wants attention, your silence becomes rare. In a world where everyone chases validation, your composure becomes magnetic. And in a world full of noise, your quiet strength becomes the one thing she cannot ignore. When you stop reaching out, you don't lose power, you reveal it. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action. If you're ready to rise above emotion and lead with purpose, join the community today at the link below. Enroll once, grow forever.